Three, two, one, and we are live. Hello, 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 and welcome to Khosi Nation Fan TV. This is where fans meet and talk about Kaizer Chiefs, Khosi Football Club. And in today's video, we are talking about something that will probably offend some people. We're talking about the dressing room here, Kaizer Chiefs, and the tensions. Let me just give a disclaimer before we start the video. This is not a report, so I don't want to see people in my comments report among. This is not a report. It's a discussion between Kaizer Chiefs fans that we should have, because it's a very important thing that we need to talk about, which is something that is happening with the team Vele. And it's not like something that we're reporting, it's something that we're observing, and that is clear it's there. So we need to talk about it. We need to talk about where it's coming from, who's the actual problem, and why and how this thing can be solved. But before we talk about the entire thing, before we talk about the video, and let's do the things that need to be done, please subscribe to the channel. If you are new to this channel, obviously, this channel will speak everything that has to do with Kaizer Chiefs. We have my live streams every weekday at 7:30. We have my videos every single day. So do subscribe, turn on the notifications so that you don't miss a video when I upload one. Like this video so that more people like you can see it. YouTube has told us the more people like the video, the more likely, not the more likely, it's guaranteed they are going to spread it to more people. So please do like the video, and if you're already subscribed to the channel, you can become a member, and it's only 20 rands per month. With that, you get early access to content, you get badges next to your name when you comment, and you also get to recommend videos on the channel as well. Not to mention you also get priority reply to your comments on the channel. Anyways, I'm trying to open this book so that I can also put timestamps for those of you who are watching after the video goes live. So if there's something interesting, we'll also timestamp it and show Guti where it is in the video. Okay, now, where is this thing coming from? It's triggering. What triggered me to talk about this video topic is the fact that if you're like me and you watch the Champions League or Europe, or let's say Europe, you know Guti Bayern yesterday got humiliated by Manchester City at the Etihad and they lost 3-0. And what ended up happening is that after the game, Sadio Mane punched Leroy Sané on his mouth, and then Sané's face was bleeding because he got punched by Mane, apparently because of something that happened around him. And then Sané continued the thing when they were outside and they were in the dressing room. Now, what does this have to do with the Chiefs? Well, this has to do with the fact that our players are also going through a lot of disappointments week in, week out. And those mistakes, it's not like it's but you can literally point at who made a mistake that led to us losing. For example, you can point at the game that we played against the Arrows, Uguti Sadly Soban. You can clearly say, okay, now umuntu who missed a chance, now umuntu who could have passed and didn't pass, now umuntu who didn't mark when they were supposed to mark. In this game, you look at the game that we just played against the Gallants, you can clearly tell Uguti Dover made a mistake that cost the team game, and you can clearly tell Uguti that is a mistake, an individual mistake, and it's clear. And now it gets you asking yourself, Uguti, Caesar's figured to the point where we are saying Dove does not trust his teammates. We're not saying Dove should be kicked out of the team. No, don't get me wrong. That's not what we're saying. What I am saying though is that frustration of not trusting your teammates, it ends up showing on the field of play, because you can clearly tell Uguti Dove doesn't trust his teammates. So at the end of the day, he tries to keep the ball as much as he can, although that leads to him making mistakes. People can say they make the same argument with ukhune when he was playing ukuthi he even said it ukuthi some players are still starstruck ukuthi they are playing for Kaizer Chiefs, and you could see ukuthi in some of the things that he did coming out when he wasn't supposed to come out ukuthi naye he didn't trust his teammates as much as he should have. You see the same thing with Peterson ukuthi yes, he has to come out at times so that he can compensate for the high line that the Chiefs plays. But in some cases, like the goal that you ended up conceding, which was also Dove's mistake, he could have stayed at Palini because Dove had the ball sort of looked like under control. But then he came out, and then because of that, there were mistakes. You look at how Udoli, sometimes Udoli no Dupree, they don't pass Saile ball. You saw how it ended up happening with Saile ukuthi after Udoli was out of the game, Saile started getting the ball when we're playing against the Gallants. Where does that come from? Because now they're forced to play with everyone up front. And now you're asking yourself, Uguti, do those things not affect how they look at each other after the losses? And because of that, do those things not then boil over and end up ruining the morale of the entire team? I am just saying and bringing this up to you guys, Uguti. I want to know, Uguti, what do you guys think? Because me personally, I think those things will definitely affect the morale of the team. I played football. I know this. Namanje, if I go back home, I still play football. And if there's someone who cost the team, usually there's someone who's going to point it out to know someone who's dlisile namhlanje. And I know people will end up saying this. I was just about to say that some people will obviously go to the coach cannot manage the players. But my question is, are you telling me Thomas Tuchel is a bad coach? That same guy has won the Champions League with Chelsea. So are you telling me Mane, who has played under so many coaches, are you telling me Mane, this guy, one of the most humble players that I know in football? Like, if you put players in order, I would put Kante, and then Kante is number one, and then I would put Mane up there with him. Uguti, if there is Kante by being one of the nicest footballers, I would put Mane after him. The amount of things that he does for Abantu, the way he carries himself, Uguti is not an aggressive player. Yet here he is. He punched Usane yesterday because he said something to him that provoked him. So now you're going to tell me Uguti, Thomas Tuchel all of a sudden is a bad coach. Yet is the very same coach who was coaching the Chelsea to win Champions League against the very same Pep Guardiola who battered him 3-0. And by the way, the Bayern team that played against Man City last night is way better than the Chelsea team that beat Man City in the finals of the Champions League. So it's still the same coach. It's different players. So you're not telling me Uguti he was a good enough coach to win a Champions League, yet all of a sudden he's not good enough to manage tempers in his dressing room. So this thing Uguti njalo, we try to shift the attention Uguti. It's always the coach. It's always the coach. I don't subscribe to that. Let me read some of your comments. Umandla is saying Amakosi. Umandla said Amakosi and then he left. Ukhupotso is saying Hola Mpilo Nation. And then Ubulelani is saying Awe Khupotso. Ubulelani is saying Hola Khosi Nation. Awe. Blade le in New York is saying Khosi Nation. Awe. Dominic Mcebo is posting Amabani. And then Unati saying Hola Mpilo Nation. Awe Unati. Zanovu is saying Khosi Nation, Mpilo Nation. Big greetings to you guys. Hello Zanovuyo. Trevor is saying Hola Mpilo Nation. Awe. And then this is the comment Billion essay who's saying it started from the coach who is failing to manage players. I will still say this, man, Uguti. You cannot tell me Uguti player selfishness is because the coach is failing to manage abadlali. Like, I will make another example that includes Umane, because, well, that's the closest thing I can think of. You remember in 2019-2020 season, Liverpool were playing against Burnley, and there was that incident where Salah could have passed to Mane, but he chose to try and score by himself. He ended up missing the chance. Well, luckily Liverpool were winning the game in any case. But are you going to tell me Uguti Klopp was a bad coach because he couldn't tell Salah to pass to Mane? Klopp was a bad coach who couldn't manage two superstars. Njani, the same coach who was winning the Champions League in that year and the league the following season. I don't think it's fair ukuthi every mistake, even that has to do with individuals themselves, it comes down to the coaches. For example, take ukuthi in 2019-2020 season for Chiefs, I'm talking about Chiefs. Ukuthi if you remember if you remember in 2019-2020 season, Chiefs, Middendorp reported this, and people don't like to hear that. Chiefs, you'll remember ukuthi they were chasing the league, right? And then Middendorp told us ukuthi Omatoho no Kune, they went out drinking while we're chasing that thing, while Sundowns on the other thing, while the Sundowns players were busy getting ready to resume after the what's this thing, the bio bubble, whatever the thing that was, after the quarantine, Sundowns players were getting themselves ready. Omatoho no Kune were busy partying. That's what Middendorp said. Now, because of that, Chiefs was affected in how they performed, because if your two senior players, the most senior players in the team, in Matoho and Ukune, were busy partying, how do you think the morale was gonna be for the other team, for the other players who know Uguti what's this thing? If Umintindorp knows what he remember, he knows what he wants from the team, and that is for the team to win the league. We know what we wanted at that time, to win the league after 5 years of not winning it. But our senior players are going out drinking. How are you going to blame Umintindorp for that? Because he's not the one who was telling them to go out and drink. They were the ones who were drinking. And this is Mintindorp, who coach on experience, and yet the players were still doing that. They were still sneaking out to go and drink. So then how is that a coach's fault? It's personalities. Like, are you going to tell me Dumsan Zuma did not survive Good Chiefs because of the fact that there was poor management? How many instances has he been in where he's been disciplined for drinking at work? You are a professional. You know what, you shouldn't be doing that. But we're going to protect him and then end up asking questions like, is South African football doing enough to make sure the players don't drink? Nonsense. In Europe, you go to Europe, there is no team that is being held accountable for players arriving in training betagio. It doesn't happen. It does not happen. I'm not glorifying European football, but it does not happen. They have strict diets. Abadlali bethu when uzwane December, when it came out ukuthi he doesn't want players who drink and smoke, it was a big deal. Hey, Uzwane is taking himself too seriously. Why is he talking about this? He likes controlling players. It was news ukuthi a coach doesn't want players to drink. And yet in Europe, that's a lifestyle that is expected of every player. Ukuthi you don't eat certain things when the season is ongoing. And yet it's news like South Africa. And then we end up saying institutions must be held accountable, but we never hold accountable the individuals. Because at the end of the day, it's the individuals who go out and have to perform for the team, and they don't perform. So then the question is, who's responsible for that? It's the players themselves. We can't keep on blaming everyone else but the players. Mistakes. Specifically saying there's definitely a divide in the team, and the sad thing is that this thing can't continue because there's gonna be new players coming in at the end of the season. They can't come into a team that is already divided Because if a team is already divided, then anyone else who's coming into the team has to choose sides, right? Like if you come into a team and you find out, oh, there is Ukone, there is so and so, and they are this side, so I have to choose a side. So what's going to happen? Everyone is coming in and checking which camp is better. Or I must probably be on the side that has Udoli because he's the captain and probably most people will listen to him. Anyone else who's coming in now, Mela choose. Okay, Udoli is old now, he's leaving, so let me hang out with the young ones. It's ridiculous, and this is not something that is new. We know these things happen in my teams. Uzipho is saying, thanks for your show, Prompilo. I really enjoy it and also get informed about everything that happened to Khosi Nation. It's a pleasure. And then Billion is saying, when coaching, you need to have attributes, tactics to play, players management. Utuchel, Klopp, they have both, but they still have problems with managing players at times because ultimately it's down to individuals. Mandla is saying, I'm still here. Mkolis is saying, Olampilo. Uphumelele is saying, yazi ngizamile ukujoyina lana but I fail. Angisazi ngenze njani. Oh, what happened? What is wrong? You mean joining the channel? There is a link on the description. Try joining using that link because that link takes you directly to where you join. Because sometimes the button on YouTube doesn't work. So try using the join that is on the link because that one takes you directly. So just click on the description box and then there is a link. Yeah. Thank you for that attempt. Usbuzi Pozonke is saying, Wola Prampilo, Amakosi in Pilo's voice. Yeah, saying Sholil. Olis is saying, no guys, Zwane is a good coach. Only the players must be held responsible, because I think because at the end of the day, yes, we can blame the coach. The coach must have attributes. I'm not dismissing your point when I Billion, by the way. The coach must know how to manage the players. That's true. The coach must know how to manage players. But at the end of the day, Nabu Abadlali themselves, they must know how to manage themselves. Malda is saying, I will say you can't blame the coach, but if it's a consistent thing that happens, the coach must take blame because something is happening. I'm training that makes that makes these guys panic like this and not pass. Something is happening in training that makes these guys panic and not pass. But do you think those situations are panicky situations? Because I've never seen a situation where it's like he's shooting as soon as he can. But sometimes they even get the ball to the other foot. And you can clearly see Uguti. Also, these things, they don't happen when we are chasing the game. We are not selfish when we're chasing the game, which is I find it interesting. Uguti, when they know Uguti, the team needs a goal, they are not selfish. But once a team is like ahead, then that's where you see the selfishness. Uguti, they are no longer passing each other. Which tells me, Uguti, okay, this thing is like, oh, the team has already scored one goal. Now it's time for me to shine. That's my problem. And yes, I will say, I will not dismiss Uguti. The coach also has a role to play in the team management thing, but I will not put it entirely on him. All this is saying, I remember that Mpilo, we lost the league. Exactly. Yo, I still remember that header. Glungil as a Chiefs, guys, my heart just dropped. Oh my God. I just remember Tuguti, that thing had me a lot. Yeah. Trevor is saying, I don't think Zwane is failing to manage the squad, but I think he needs help, as in attacking or striker coach. That one, I mean, I'm interested to see Uguti, since we've been screaming and shouting about the striker coach so much, are Chiefs going to do something at the end of the day, or it's just going to be a dream for us that is never going to be realized because Chiefs somehow does not see the need for us to get a striker coach. And then Uzanovu is saying team is people doing something together to achieve the same result. With Chiefs, there's a lot of individualism. Even then, safety first, basic and fundamental rule. Yes, I don't get the thing, your good team. Even the simple things, everyone wants to shine. Even if you have to do the simplest thing, like there's a person who's free, pass them the ball. They would rather lose the ball rather than pass it to someone who's available. Kick the ball out. It's simpler enough. No, they don't. Banokudlala ngathi nje umuntu uyidlalela yedwa and ufuna ukushana yedwa. Ensmith Music is saying hola mpilo ndithi mina ingxaki ngoku iChiefs enayo nokuthi xa kufuneka yenze i-change ayinama good players. That is why kuba nzima kwi second half. That is true. We actually talked about that the other time ukuthi one of the problems that iChiefs has is that as much as people will talk about how Uzwane does not make subs, I'm one of those people. But sometimes even before my games, I look at our bench and I'm like, hey, Ubani, who can come in from that bench and make a difference, right? Because if you look at your bench and you're like, I don't see anyone who can come in and make a change, a difference in the game, then you know you are doomed. Like I was looking at, maybe Vele it's going to be too much of a comparison. Let's not compare to Sundowns. Let's just say Pirates. A Pirate will start to do Chuka Manj. But you look at their bench, you see Erasmus. That is still a good enough striker who can come in and show people flames. Like Ulepasa right now is on loan. If they were to bring on Ulepasa off the bench, that's a good player. If Pirates can start with Upule on the right, then Umnomzane Waga Lodge on the left, they are good players. But if you look on the bench, I know Hoto hasn't been having the greatest of seasons, but you know Uguti, they can come in and make a difference. For Chiefs, you just look, and it's sadness. Ipirate, bencha on Ndlondo, by the way, we wanted him. He could have been so useful at Chiefs. But Ndlondo are not playing at Pirates, and that tells you Uguti, they can look at their bench and say, oh, who can we bring on? Oh, Ndlondo, and then they can bring on Ndlondo. But at Chiefs, we don't have that thing. We have that problem. We don't just look and say we can bring in someone who can change things. Babagaze Namiso is saying, Ola Nation, Grand boy, I'm good, Babagaze Namiso. Ukhopotso is saying, as fans, we need to accept that players are their own people and they can't be pinned on the coach. We have a good coach in Zwane. The players just need to work as a team and play as long as a unit. Yabo mina I couldn't agree with you more lapho who's this Khuputso, because this thing is always like directed at the coach all the time. It's never the player, it's always the coach. Uzanovo is saying those passes at the back are effective in other teams and we are not immune to that, but that starts at our preparation, workups, building from the back is good to open spaces to the opponents. I think if you're talking about building from the back, I think what Uzwane has done tactically is to drop Ustebe between the defenders to collect the ball. So in a way that does work. The problem is somehow when we get the ball and we are not building from the back, it just gets passed back. Then we have problems. But if we're starting from the back, we build up, we don't have much problems. We just have problems if Ebola just happens to go to our defenders. Uzobonak. Umxolisi is saying, Pilo, I'm playing soccer and players, we must have plan B if plan A is not working. Yeah, because that's just another thing. If udlala pola, you know, okay, this is not working. You can feel it. You must take responsibility. You're not always waiting for the coach to give you instructions. You can't tell me Uguti if, for example, somehow Umat is out of position, ukuthi uSithebe sees ukuthi there is a hole there and Matt is supposed to be covering the center and there is no one making a run wide. But since the coach told me to stay wide, I will stay wide even if I'm supposed to intervene and tackle and bail Matt out. It's like, nope, my position is to play left back, and I'm not saying, by the way, Matt it does that. I'm just making it as an example. If we say grounded now, you are alive and you think, okay, what can I do to improve our situation that we're in right now? I agree. And then Mandla is saying, I say panic because when they get to the box, they no longer see their players, but outside the box, they see each other. So I think something happens in training that makes these get fuzzy brains. Okay, I will say I agree and disagree with Mandla. You know why I agree? I agree because vele uguti composure, we fail to have a composure in the box, right? That's true. That should be improved. But on the other hand, how do you explain Saile not getting the ball when Udoli was still in the game? Because Saile started getting the ball when Udoli was out of the game. So how do you explain that? That's not inside the box. Those actions were happening outside the box. He wasn't getting the ball. Even if he was on the halfway line, he wasn't getting the ball. But he started getting supply and getting those 1v1s with defenders when Udoli was out. So explain that. Yeah, bo. That's why I'm saying Uguta agree and disagree. So Barabam passes. So another thing is basically saying, should they do those things of being selfish towards each other on Sunday? There's gonna be problems, especially if they're knocked out of the Nedbank Cup. At the end of the day, especially people will go back and say it's one. It's a battle that you can't win with Sinskat. We'll lose and people will just say it's one because, well, it's easy to say that. Olis is saying, me too, to that day we lost the league. It was painful. Billion is saying, even the coach who will coach, main coach is needed. Rulani have a coach who coach him. I think more like an advisor. Mandla is saying, Mina, I saw Chiefs losing the game in December. Why didn't they sign players to boost the attack? Because after the Arrows game, Nukovic was exposed and all teams knew how to mark him and everything failed from there. But eSport Chiefs, if you are talking about the 1920 season, yes, we were figured out. There is also that, right? They were figured out in a way, but at the same time, we still could have made some adjustments because we could have stopped being direct from the start. Try and play 2 or 3 passes. There was an entire quarantine period where Chiefs could have experimented with new things because sometimes we're doing that. Why was Chiefs not doing that? The answer is Aban Bebe Puzeluchwala at that time, and that was the problem. Simba is saying, do they know what they are doing? Because they are trying to get the glory for themselves, and because of that, they end up actually harming the team. And then next up is Umsawenkos is saying there is no unit at Chiefs players and this cost the team too much. Ngaze ubafake induki bonke kanye naye uzwana. Hayi man, disappointment after disappointment. Guys, why did I forget this? Please like the video. I really forgot to ask you. I just continue talking and talking. Please like the video. And then next one is Umpazimo saying, Olampilo, do our players respect Zwane or do they want him to get fired? They are not playing for Zwane, but they play for themselves and contract. I'm a contractor because they know good, they have 4-year contracts, they are sorted, so it doesn't worry them. That's why sometimes I just question them. They know good, the coach can be fired, another one will be brought in, and then they will be given a lifeline with, oh, maybe this coach will trust me more, so now I will be renewed and will be playing under this new coach. But at the end of the day, it does feel like they just do their own thing. I actually made a video that's about that it's titled "We Need to Address This." Go check that video out. I talk about that a lot. Olis is saying, I'm happy my team yesterday win the weekend. Chiefs win, trust me. You are a Man City fan. Blade is saying, it's so funny that you can't substitute Saile for Calebra. Like, what would you be doing? Like, you're supposed to bring in someone else or something in the second half. Usbu is saying, kule case kaDove noPeterson, I think uDove akafunanga ukuzwa ngoPeterson because uPeterson wayesebona istriker Caesar and emtshela, but uDove didn't listen and started faking an injury, and that's showing division. Akeri, it's that thing yokuthi I said ukuthi uDove does not seem to be trusting his own players, and because naye it seems like he doesn't trust his own players, then you end up having a situation where the team is falling apart because you don't trust your own players. So that's the thing. Let me read my comments and my members because we are running out of time. Who's played is agreeing with that one. Manda is saying, but the Saile one close to the boxes were basically tap-ins, and with Saile, Dolly went out and Marciane came in. Marciane is pop, he can create, so obviously the other side will start getting the ball. But Mandla, Marciane got 2 chances and he crossed the ball into the box. What do we say about that? He did get to a box like twice in Pel. Blade is saying 1920 season ayibompila yayingekho isungulwe ngo Chiefs. I mean 1920 as in 2019-2020 season, not 1920. Uthini manje? Umandla is saying the 2019 team needed to sign players. Nukovic couldn't play without those long balls and it was exposed. The moment that happened, he stopped having an impact. Valid, like they were figured out. That's what I said. So that's the thing. Uzanovo is saying, as a manager coach, you carry almost 4 functions: friend, colleague, parent, lastly, or the decision maker. The latter looks like is lacking with Mancave in decision making. Player should account if not doing what is expected and be benched. That's what we've been saying. Ngo Saile. I cannot close ngo 8:30. I try to respect this cut by all means necessary. We're 3 minutes over time. We're supposed to make these live streams 30 minutes. Guys, thank you so much once again for joining me today. I will see you on the next one. Go check out the video that I posted about why Stellenbosch don't want to sign to give us their players, and on top of that I also talk about the solutions, so go check out that video. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you on the next one, and until next time, remember, equals alphela umoya. Engolo kante engolo.